This stunning plant here is called Ischionathus longicollis, otherwise known as the black pagoda lipstick plant, known for its stunning foliage of the red veining on the dark colored leaves and the burgundy color underneath the leaves. It's known more for its foliage rather than its lip-shaped flowers that it produces. Today we're going to propagate it together, and this technique applies to all lipstick plants across the board, not just the black pagoda. Now the easiest way to propagate a lipstick plant is by soil propagation. Now there's other methods of propagating, like with water or with sphagnum moss or with leca, but soil is the most easiest because if you're using the other mediums, once the cutting has grown roots, you're going to have to transfer it from its medium of the water or the leca or sphagnum moss and then transfer it into soil eventually. So once you transfer into soil, it has to be acclimated, and it's more likely the cutting may die during the acclimation into soil. So easiest, just propagate it directly into soil. The soil mixture I'm using is a well-draining soil mixture, and it is important because lipstick plants, they don't like dense soil mixture that holds water for too long. So my soil mixture consists of 20% potting mix, 20% worm casting, 20% perlite, 20% orchid bark, and 20% horticultural charcoal. Now that's a well-draining soil mixture, but if you don't have all those little products in your home to create that soil mixture, you can mix and match. So what I mean by that is, if you don't have perlite, just replace it with vermiculite. If you don't have horticultural charcoal, just add more orchid bark or more perlite. And if you don't have worm casting, just add more potting mix to substitute it. And the pot I'm using today is a ceramic pot that has a hole in it. It's a glazed ceramic pot, and it is important that whatever pot that you use has drainage holes in it, whether it's a black nursery pot or a terracotta pot, because it is important that there is drainage, because you don't want the soil to end up with the actual pot to end up with too much water, because that's more likely to rot the actual new cuttings. So drainage holes are important. And once you've done all that, next thing to do is let's get our cuttings. So first of all, we need to locate nodes. Now you may be wondering, what is a node? Well, a node is where new roots grow out of and where new leaves grow out of it. The easiest way to locate a node is find where the leaves are. If you see where the leaves are, that's where the node is. It's like this slight lump on the actual stem. So that's a node, and you want between 2 or 3 nodes. The reason for that is you don't want just one node, because just in case that node's died, that's it, the cutting's gone. Because you do need nodes for new growth to occur in a lipstick plant. You can't just grow it by its leaves, and you don't want too many nodes. Having more than 3 nodes, what happens is that the cutting is too long and it's less likely to be successful. And once you have your cuttings there, you want to clip away. You want to cut around about 1.5 centimeter below the node, which is approximately 1 inch below the node. You don't have to be exact, just approximate it. Get as many cuttings as you can, because the more cuttings you do, the more fuller the new plant's going to look, and also the more successful it's going to be, because just in case one cutting dies, you've got plenty of other spare cuttings to use and grow. Once that's done, then you want to remove the bottom parts of the leaves. You don't want to keep all the leaves. You only want around about 2 or 3 leaves, because if you have too many leaves, the plant is actually going to prioritize in maintaining those leaves rather than growing roots. And you want the new cutting to grow roots to make the actual cutting stronger and healthier. And if you only have 1 leaf, well, just in case that leaves die, you want at least 2 leaves, just in case the first one dies, you have a spare, and maximum of 3 leaves. So what I'm going to do with the cuttings, I'm going to remove the bottom parts of the leaves. They're just excess leaves. And also if the leaves on the bottom part of the cutting, it's too low, what's going to happen is more likely when planting the cutting, the leaves going to end up in the soil. And if the leaves end up in the soil, the leaves can rot and then by causing the cutting to rot and be unsuccessful. So you want to get cutting with 2 or 3 nodes and leaves that have 2 or 3 nodes. Once that's done there, it's not an absolute necessary step, but I would recommend you do it because I found that using a rooting hormone, the roots grow a lot faster and healthier as well. You don't have to go to expensive rooting hormone, just any cheap rooting hormone that you find. I'm just using a Yates rooting hormone that costs around about $6 in Australia. And all you do is dip the cutting, the ends of the cutting in the rooting hormone, pop a hole in the soil and pop the cutting in the soil, making sure that one node is underneath the soil and only lightly underneath the soil. It doesn't have to go that far down in the soil. And I'm just going to backfill it and make sure that the cutting is actually nice and firm in the soil. So it's going to be around about, the node's going to be around about an inch below the top surface of the soil. And it's just more rinse and repeat. So get a cutting, dip in the rooting hormone, pop a hole in the soil, pop the cutting in the soil, and once again, lightly making sure that the cutting is firmly in its soil. And just keep on going until the pot is full. Once that's done there, I'm going to only lightly water the new plant. The reason for that is that I don't want to have the soil all completely wet because these are new cuttings. These don't have roots in it, which means that it's not going to use that much water. And by putting too much water in the pot, it's going to hold the water for too long and thereby more likely rotting the ends of the cuttings. So it's just only lightly watering the new plant. I want to really only water so that the soil is moist between 1 and 2 inches from the top of the soil. Once that's done, I'm going to pop in the area where it receives a lot of bright indirect sunlight. So it's going to be popped outside this time in a sheltered area. But if you're propagating and growing your lipstick plant in the home, it can be grown in the home, just making sure that it's in the area where it receives a lot of bright indirect sunlight. If you put in the area where it receives direct, especially afternoon direct sunlight, it can burn the leaves. And if the leaves get burnt, it's less likely for the plant, the new cutting, to grow. Then I go back to the same care routine of a lipstick plant, making sure that the soil is completely dry before re-watering it. Usually once after 1 month's time, the whole pot can be completely watered rather than the first 1 or 2 inches at the top of the soil. And after 1 month, this is what it looks like. Really nothing much changed there. Some of the leaves got burned there, but that's fine. I can still tell that the cutting is still living because the stem is still, it's not dead, it hasn't dried up, it's still looking healthy. And I lost 1 or 2 leaves, but that's fine. Each cutting had spares, so that's absolutely normal to lose 1 or 2 leaves while propagating a new lipstick plant. And some of the leaves got a little bit burnt, but once again, that's still fine because what you want is the plant to actually prioritize in growing roots rather than completely maintaining those leaves. And then after 3 months, I did see some new growth. So with the new growth there, you can see there's the new leaves coming out of the cutting, and the new leaf is generally completely green. It doesn't have that veining going through compared to the mature leaves that were on the mother plant. And it's because it's just immature leaves. So it's going to grow, it's going to mature, it's going to end up with that beautiful same sort of veining and coloring compared to the mature mother plant. And you can see it's got strong, healthy roots because you can see the roots are nice and whitish. They're not black or they're not slimy. So that means that the roots are really nice and healthy. And so now it's just really waiting for the plant to become bigger, just following the same thing, watering it when the soil is completely dry, and that's it. That's how easy it is to propagate a lipstick plant. That's my technique, but if you have any techniques of your own to grow your lipstick plant, I'd love to read about it in the comment section down below. And don't forget to help your crazy plant lady. It's a free and easy way by hitting the likes and subscribing to the channel. And if you did like this content and wanted to know how to propagate a Hoya, watch this video here where I explain to you how to propagate a Hoya. I'll see you next video.